Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Once in a Wild Wednesday, where each and every month we try to go live across social media and we bring a little bit of our zoo to you. If you've never been here before, this is your first time seeing my face. Hello, it's nice to meet you. Please chime in with family-friendly questions and comments and compliments. I'll take all three of those during our lives. Our lives are family-friendly. If you end up being not family-friendly, we will have to ask you to leave in a forced way. We will block you. But we hope that that doesn't happen today, right? And we hope that you have a great time and you enjoy our live stream and everybody's happy. So we are bringing the zoo to you once a month nowadays because we are extremely busy with our mobile zoo service. So let me go ahead and introduce myself for those of you that are new. Thank you so much for being here. If you haven't already followed us on your favorite social medias, we are pretty much everywhere, and we are at Once in a Wild or at Once in a Wild Zoo on social media. So please let me know if you have any questions, comments, or compliments throughout our live stream. But if you also want to follow some really fun content, we do try to post daily on Instagram and Facebook, for those of you that still use those. And we try to post every now and again on the rest of social media. And we do post rerun live streams every Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. And we do our best to go live once a month right now on Wednesday, the first Wednesday of the month. And that's going to be also at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. We are a mobile zoo and we are called Once in a Wild. So thank you for being here. My name is Amanda. I'm the founder and lead animal specialist of Once in a Wild. And we are a small mobile zoo in San Antonio, Texas. And we actually are mobile zoo services. So we bring zoo animals to classrooms, to birthday parties, to nursing homes, all kinds of fun events indoors or outdoors. And we even do virtual services as well. As you might imagine, during the pandemic, we did a lot more virtual services than in person, and now we're doing far more in person than virtual. So as you might imagine, I have a lot less time to go live. So I hope you understand, and I hope you enjoy our content nonetheless. We do, as we get less busy and I get more help, cross my fingers, I will plan to go live a little bit more often, maybe here and there, maybe do like pop-up lives, things like that. We do have about 100 animals in our small animal collection. Most of those are very small animals, and some of those are as big as a Eurasian eagle owl. We have Pekin ducks that are pretty large. We have 2 Flemish giant rabbits, and the rest are all smaller than those guys. The majority of our collection is going to be invertebrates and herps, which includes your reptiles and amphibians, things like that. So smaller animals, but we do have quite the variety. We've got birds, mammals, reptiles, and creepy crawlies of all sorts, something for everyone. We provide educational presentations. We provide very casual encounters with animals. It could be anything from a photo opportunity for a special occasion, or it could be something like a meet and greet with animals, or even a petting zoo. We actually have a mini petting zoo, which we can set up outside on a grassy area or something safe like that. We prefer grassy or some sort of soft surface in case of somebody tripping and things like that. Little kids tend to trip, and also animals are fragile. Sometimes we want to make sure everybody's safe and sound, and also it is better to be absorbent on grass and mulch and things like that, right? And I'm so excited that Viviana is here watching. Whatever your favorite social media is, we are usually on there when we go live. So right now we're on TikTok, Instagram. Oh, you know what? Am I live on Instagram? We're gonna maybe say hello on Instagram again. So it's not letting me go live on Instagram, so that's a bummer. I am live over on TikTok. It's telling me something about my network not being stable enough or something like that. So maybe we'll figure that out for next time. I think maybe I need an update. Sorry about that. We usually are live on Instagram. I don't want to take away too much time with my introduction, going and updating my phone and things like that. That wouldn't make any sense. But I'm so glad to see you guys over here on TikTok, and I'm glad to see you guys across social media otherwise, which includes Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube and Twitch and Twitter and all kinds of things. And over on TikTok, which is actually my favorite. My favorite is TikTok. That's the one I spend the most time on, like personally as well. So I do understand that you guys are watching over there. Sorry about Instagram. I had no idea it wasn't even live right now, but oh well. We're doing our best around here. It is real. We are actually live, in case you're ever wondering. We have bloopers sometimes. So we're going to do our very best. But we do have all the different kinds of animals and something for everyone. If you're not into the creepy crawly animals, that is okay. We've got furry and feathery animals as well. Some of our animals are touchable, of course, and some of them are more hands-off, but you always get to enjoy and see the animals up close. So that is something that we definitely kind of maintain at our zoo as one of our goals, is always giving you kind of an up-close, fun interaction with our animals, of course, to help build empathy towards them and help you maybe conquer some fears or get to know animals that you already love a little bit better and appreciate them even more, and build even more empathy and care for those animals. And our ultimate goal is to change people's mindset about animals, especially animals you don't really care for. We can respect all animals regardless, but also animals that you already care for, we can teach you about how important those guys are as well. We believe every single animal, whether it's a mammal, bird, reptile, invertebrate, or amphibian, they're all super important. Even fish too, of course. All the animals. We don't have any fish at Once in a Wild, but maybe someday. But we do, of course, believe that all animals, big or small, creepy crawly or not, are super important to the ecosystem. So we're going to talk about some really cool animals today. We've even got some new animals coming to the show, and we're very excited to bring some new critters to Once in a Wild. Our collection is always growing depending on if we're looking for new animals that would best fit our programming. We kind of always have our feelers out for different animals that we're looking for sometimes. Or sometimes animals will happen to us when we least expect it, like animals will be donated and things like that. That happens a lot as well. A lot of times we'll get calls for animals that we can't take in, but then we will help you find a home for them, maybe through other people that we know that may have an appropriate home for that particular animal. Or it could be an animal what's another scenario? Maybe it's an animal like a rehab situation, like an opossum or a skunk or something that you see in your backyard and you're like, they need help. We can't necessarily rehab animals in our care because we're not licensed rehabbers. We do have opossums and other animals that have been rehabilitated by a professional licensed person in Texas. And if they cannot be placed back into the wild, sometimes they have to be placed in zoos, even mobile zoos like what we have. So that is definitely a thing, but we don't do the rehabilitation ourselves and we're not a vet either. So things like that, we might be able to get you in contact with the appropriate person that may help you. So that does happen quite a bit. In fact, let me see, we've got one animal at least today, one animal out of 5 that we're going to show today that is a rescue animal. So that does happen quite a bit. And if we can take that animal in, we tend to sleep on it and try to make a decision because we take our intake of animals very seriously. Once we adopt an animal into Once in a Wild, we do not rehome them afterwards. And so we do our very best to make sure that we can keep them long term. So I do have one that's going to be in the presentation today that I think you're going to like and has been here before, but is doing very well. And I've got 2 more that have been here before on the show. And then I've got one new creepy crawly and another new amphibian. Are you guys excited? So we've got some cool new animals today. There's 2 of them. Hello, Viviana, once again. I already said hello, but I'm saying hello again. Yes, we are live. Actually live, unless this is rerunning, which this may be a rerun. So that in that case, we would not be live. Gregor is not going to be on the program today. I'm so sorry if that's disappointing. I can definitely have him on the show again soon. Gregor and Sandor are our 2 Flemish giant rabbits, for those of you that are new. And they are together now. They're actually together in the same space and getting along just fine. So they acclimated to each other very well. Both of them have gotten fixed, which was a necessity for introducing 2 male rabbits or 2 rabbits of any gender. It is always highly recommended to get them neutered or spayed. That is also highly recommended in general for a pet rabbit because it's better for their health. It promotes better pet behavior, although Sandor was always an angel. If you know Sandor, you know. Sandor gets so many compliments on how well behaved he is that some people think that we have drugged him, which of course is not the case. We do not drug or anything our animals unless they need some sort of medication for a medical purpose and things like that. We don't give them sedatives to work on programs. That's definitely not a thing across the board with good facilities and good zoos. We don't do that. But again, if you've never been here before or you're catching our show as a rerun, we are a mobile zoo based right here in South Texas. We're in San Antonio, Texas. We can service a wide circle around San Antonio as well, including Austin, things like that. We can go to San Marcos for events, all kinds of fun things. So if you are interested We do have a number down below on some of our social media, and the rest of the social media, like TikTok, I believe it's in our bio description, but you can also visit onceinawild.com where you can find our phone number as well as a way to basically request a call back or email back, and we will get back to you right away with information on how you can book us for your birthday party coming up, for your classroom presentation, maybe for the summer. Summer's coming up. Hooray, I'm so excited. I am a summer girl. My last name may be Winter, but I love warm weather. So I'm really excited that the weather is getting warmer. I know a lot of South Texans don't like the warm weather, but I like consistent, predictable weather, although Texas is very unpredictable in general because we do get rain and things every now and then, and Texas can be very bipolar all over the place. If you know, you know. But I do like the warmer nights and not having to worry about temperatures dropping too low for some of my animals to stay outside, like Joanna the iguana, for example, and the tortoises. Oh, here's a good question. Hello. We have a question over here. It says, wow, I always wondered how male rabbits express dominance. I have never seen rabbits fight before. You should look it up. Our rabbits have not fought. It went fairly well overall with introductions, although it was a little rocky at first, but it really worked out because Gregor, our new rabbit, who's very young, he's like 7 months old now. Gregor is very dominant compared to Sandor, but not too dominant to where he's like trying to hurt him or anything. He just really likes them. He's obsessed with him. So they finally found, I think, a dynamic that works for them. But yeah, you should look it up. Rabbit bonding is a trip. It is very complicated, and we're very lucky that it worked out. Oh, okay, no problem. As always, watching the whole live stream is always optional. You can always watch it back, and I'm sure you will at some point. All right. Well, hello, TikTok. I hope that some people are watching over on TikTok because I tried to go live on Instagram and apparently I need to update my phone and it's not going to go live right now. So we'll do our very best to go live again, maybe on Instagram. Maybe I'll do a little bit afterwards, no promises, or maybe another day, or maybe if I have a slow week, I'll go live just on Instagram to give you guys a live stream too. But if you're over on TikTok and you prefer to watch on YouTube or anything else, we are on YouTube as well. And we're on Twitch as well. Some other options for YouTube. So we're trying to simultaneously go live. Let's see if I can do it again because Ricky's telling me on a comment that I should try it again. Nope, I think I have to actually update my phone. So I think it's my phone. Oops, I'm so sorry, you guys. We'll do our best to fix it later. Yeah, I know, I'm bummed too. Sorry, we're doing our best. We're real life humans and we mess up sometimes. Or things that we don't know about and then we discover on the spot, which is annoying. I thought I was live for the first little bit of it. Well, anyway, if you guys want more information on our local services, yeah, Instagram is not letting me go live on my particular device. It's asking me to update something, which I will do straight away after this, I promise. But hopefully next time I'll be able to go live on Instagram. And thank you for saying welcome back. We've got some really cool herps and a bug for you guys to meet today. I hope you're excited. Some of them have been here before. Some of them are new. So are you excited to meet some animals? We do have 5 animals to meet, so I guess it's time to get started. If you guys want any, yeah, oh well, exactly. If you guys want any more information on what we do locally here in San Antonio metro area, it could be Austin, could be all different types of places. Within reason, we can travel. And if you want more information on mobile services that are in person, please let me know. You can visit onceinawild.com, or you can call our number down below or in our bio description and get more information that way, or you can even text us there as well too. We have texting capabilities on our website and on our device as well. When you text the number is textable. And we'll give you more information and get you started. And it's a little bit something for everybody. So we've got a good starting price point for everybody, super affordable. It's a whole lot of fun. If you also are interested in virtual services, maybe you're not local to San Antonio or surrounding cities, we can offer virtual services to those of you all over the world, really, that would like a virtual, basically custom animal encounter where you get to pick your own animal as well. So, alrighty. So I think it's time to get started. I think I've said enough. If we have any public events that anybody, the general public, can come and visit, we always post them on social media. Again, make sure and follow and subscribe to social media and whatnot. Ring all the bells and keep up with it. We try to post them on our website as well, but lately it hasn't been as accurate. So venture over to social media, especially Instagram and Facebook. We update those all the time with events coming up, especially public events, okay? We'll do our very best to let you know what's going on. I can't think of any coming up. Ricky, let me know if there's any coming up. There probably are, but I know a lot of them are ticketed and they are selling out like crazy. If you guys do want to book anything, by the way, please book 2 months in advance at least. Okay. All right. Oh, Mo Bunny says, are you excited to see what your animals get you for Mother's Day since you are their mom, practically? That is so sweet. I'm not the only one that takes care of our animals, but I like to think I'm the mother of our animals. That's very nice. They may see me like that, some of them, or they may see me not as their mother, maybe just their servant. Yes, but I'm not sure all the detail on the library and Harry Potter events because I can't remember which ones. Well, one of them is a library event that's Harry Potter themed. We do a lot of Harry Potter stuff and Creepy Crawly themed, but we will post them at some point. So please just stay tuned. Ricky can maybe look up details for us and post them. Ricky, by the way, is my husband and the other owner of Once in a Wild. We are family owned. All right. Okay. As I mentioned before, I'm not the only one that takes care of the animals. We do have staff as well that helps us take care of the animals, and we have wonderful sales staff that have made a huge difference in our life lately. Lots of help. The more help, the better, right? Because we need it. We can't do everything as much as we would like to. We can't do everything. Alrighty, you guys. So I think it's time to go ahead and make sure I'm in focus here. Because our first animal is going to be quite small. I want to make sure you guys can see her. So our first animal friend is brand new to Once in a Wild, and I'm super excited for you guys to see her. Her name is Pickles. What a cute name, right? Adorable name. To me, this is such a cool animal, and I wouldn't say cute, but I do love their personality. This is an animal I have 100% never worked with and never had in a personal collection, and I was so excited to find one the other day up for grabs, and I went ahead and just tried it out, even though I've never had one before. I've heard a lot of good things, and I know some of my colleagues and friends have them and really like them. But this is what we call a vinegaroon. I'm going to make sure she is comfortable before I raise her up so you can see. I don't want her to take a little tumble off the cliff here. These guys are really neat. It's called a vinegaroon, otherwise known, as a whip scorpion. This is not a scorpion, though it is actually in the arachnid family, which is what scorpions belong to, right? You guys see over on TikTok? That is a vinegaroon, aka the whip tail scorpion. Not to be confused with the tailless whip scorpion, super confusing. But these guys are in the arachnid family, and therefore they are not an insect, even though they look like, to me, an insect, don't they? At first glance, I would see that crawling by and think that is 100% an insect. But it's not. It's an arachnid. How neat. And these guys are completely harmless to humans. So I'm going to hold her. That being said, they don't have any biting defense at all. And they are non-venomous. Now we can see them a little bit better, right? They're just the coolest little thing. I know TikTok is a little bit far away. I'll do my best to show her in a minute to you guys, but I want to make sure and show the rest of everybody because they're the majority. Whoa. We're going to make sure they don't fall. Now, please do not worry. This bug is super duper tough. They're kind of as tough as a scorpion and not as fragile as a tarantula. Though tarantulas usually do not do well falling, right? But a vinegaroon is pretty tough, almost like our Madagascar hissing cockroaches. So they're pretty cool, but they're not an insect. This is actually an arachnid. This is a species found in the United States, and they are found in kind of the western central United States, or central western, I should say. So places like West Texas and places like Nevada, and a little bit on the outskirts of those two areas. And into Mexico a little bit as well, I believe. So these guys are a nocturnal arachnid species. Lots of arachnids are nocturnal, right? That's when they feel the most comfortable, just kind of being out and about. Look at that. Look at the tail sticking up. So these guys do have two central body parts. The cephalothorax, which is their head and midsection combined. That's where the legs are connected to. And where their eyes are, and where their kind of claw-like things are too, which are really just pedipalps. kind of like more like arms than claws, right? But those guys have two main body parts like any other arachnid, and they have a abdomen in the back. So they're cephalothorax in the center and abdomen in the back. And connected to the abdomen, we've got this tail-like, kind of like hind end area, which is called a metasoma. And kind of like a scorpion, right? These guys have a very skinny one, and it sticks up. I believe it's also called a flagellum, but please correct me if I'm wrong. But it's used like a sensory organ. It has no stinger. It's really nothing except like a great big antenna, but it doesn't function like a insect's antenna. It doesn't really have any like sense of smell or anything like that. It's just for touching. It has little hairs on the end of it as well. I don't know if you can see, the hairs are really tiny, but just like a tarantula or a scorpion, they do have hair. You guys see? I do my best to help everybody see at the same time, but it's a challenge, you guys, especially with the little guys like these guys. But yeah, they're super cool. This is an arachnid. It eats other invertebrates, like mostly insects. So super duper beneficial to the natural environment. It also feeds other animals. It is harmless, but its defense is not to pinch or sting because it doesn't have the ability to really sting at all, and it only pinches and grabs its food. So it wouldn't pinch a predator. It wouldn't be strong enough to do any damage. So what they do instead, they actually spray, kind of like a stink bug. So at the base of their tail-like projection, that's really a sensory organ, right? At the base of their tail, they have the ability to make a little puff, like a spray, and that can actually stink really bad. They say it smells like vinegar. So that's why they give them the name the vinegaroon. Vinegaroon is one of the common names, and the other one is the whiptail scorpion. It's not a scorpion. It doesn't have a stinger or any ability to give venom to anyone. How they hunt their prey is by feeling around, and once they sense a delicious bug to eat, whoa, see? We were doing so well. Took a little tumble. These guys are really tough, though, you guys. Not a problem. Tough exoskeleton, not fragile. In fact, these guys are kind of a decent pet for families, to be honest with you, because they're not a fragile animal like a tarantula is. Tarantulas really make me nervous when little kids own them because they're not super duper tough to be handled and things like that. These guys are. Got a little bit more comfortable there, Pickles. Her name is Pickles because vinegar, right? Vinegaroon. And the vinegar smell, it's just kind of annoying. It's not really like deadly or super, it doesn't really sound that unappealing to me. I love pickles. So vinegar smell sounds great. It's like vinegar, salt and vinegar chips, right? But that is their main defense. So they would hunt by feeling around, like I mentioned before. Remember, it's going to be at night. So feeling around. And they do have eyes. They actually have, let's see, how many eyes you got? You got 2 eyes on the top and kind of to the front. And then 3 eyes on each kind of like cheek of their cephalothorax. So they've got 3 eyes on each side. 2 eyes in the middle. So 3, 6, 7, 8 eyes. So 8 eyes, just like a tarantula cousin has. The cousin of the tarantula right here, guys. Another arachnid. But yeah, that is their only defense. But how they hunt is going to be by feeling around with their long legs that they have. You might be thinking, oh, it has antenna. It does not have antenna. It's got this back one right here, which is kind of like the little tail, right? It's a little metasoma tail. And then they also have these long arms, which are not the claw, not to be confused with the pedipalps, which are the claw-like arms, I guess. But they have these kind of like long legs that they use for like feelers. So it is kind of like their feelers, right? And they're extra long and skinny. So instead of having antenna like an insect, since they're not an insect, because only insects have antenna, insects have 3 body parts, 6 legs, and 2 antenna instead of arms, like an arachnid does. Neat, right? But they do use those first kind of set of arms for feeling around like antenna. And that makes sense to me because they are a nighttime animal. Their vision is there, but it's not super, it's not great. It's very poor when they're looking around. So in order to get around, they're going to feel around instead, right? I hope you guys can see pretty well. Now, I know they are very weird looking, and I wouldn't have necessarily liked this animal before getting to know them, right? So I would have probably seen this animal, not known what it was, and been like, well, that's probably something dangerous, right? And that's not necessarily always the case, even though animals look scary. Usually that's not the case. Usually they're not dangerous to people. This is definitely not even a dangerous animal unless you're their prey, like a juicy, delicious insect. So what they might eat is like crickets and roaches and maybe other arachnids as well, all kinds of different delicious buggy food, right? And that is what makes them super duper important to the natural environment. They also get eaten by things like foxes and cats and all sorts of predators, right? And even like other arachnids, maybe, and birds and all kinds of things. But that is their main defense, is going to be that stinky smell. Pickles, I know. Pickles is so cute. I think she is really cute. The personality outweighs the appearance, in my opinion. But these are really fun to watch as well. They're actually pretty active in their enclosure. They're a lot more active, in my opinion, than a tarantula, although all of your arachnids are more active at night. So if you ever had a pet tarantula or a pet scorpion or anything like that, make sure and observe them at night when they are more active. That is pretty cool. She looks nothing like Pickles. What do you mean? Is there another Pickles that I don't know about? You let me know. There is no stinger. Someone's asking, what is the stinger in the back for? There is no stinger. So they basically just have like a little tail in the back that has nothing on the end at all. So that is just like another sensory organ. And that's going to be able to, by the way, I have a padded table down below, so she's okay. That is almost like another just antenna. And that's more for like sensory in the back. So they have like an antenna in the back and then two in the front, right? But the two in the front are really just weird legs. And the one in the back is like a tail. I hope that makes sense. Let me go ahead and collect her again. I think on this cork bark is a little bit easier, especially to show TikTok. Look, you guys. I know it's a scary looking animal, but the more you learn about strange looking animals, the more you can be less afraid, right? These guys really are not harmful at all to anyone except for their prey, which is usually small bugs. But they do us a lot of favors by eating roaches and eating other insects that may be harmful and spread disease, right? So these guys, again, they're located in the United States and into a little bit of Mexico as well, I believe. I'm going to have to look this up. Remember, this is a new species for me, so I'm still learning about their like location and behavior and things like that. So I'm still getting to know them. If you would observe on the abdomen, which is the hind end, there are little dots kind of in rows. I don't know if you can see it all. They move around a lot. Little dots. You can't see them. You just have to trust me. Those are where they breathe from as well. These guys do have sphericals, kind of like an insect as well. And they even have sphericals underneath too. But they're like little holes so they can breathe. A invertebrate breathes very differently than a mammal or a bird or even a reptile does, right? They breathe a lot differently. You like her? Let me know if you guys have any questions. Thank you for being here. Those of you that have stuck around, hopefully I didn't scare you off already. This is our first animal out of 5, and this one is brand new. Her name is Pickles, and she is a vinegaroon, which is an arachnid. It is not an insect. It's actually in the spider and scorpion family. This is just a strange arachnid, which happens to be non-venomous. That is super rare in the arachnid kind of grouping. Most arachnids are venomous, and that's how they process and attack their food, right? This is an arachnid. This is an arachnid, like a spider or a scorpion. That's what they are. Pretty neat. To me, they kind of remind me of like a sea creature. Almost looks like a lobster, like a tiny one, right? Hey, TikTok, this is Pickles. Pickles the vinegaroon. Say hi, Pickles. Say hi to everybody on TikTok. Hello, hello. And say hello to everybody on the rest of social media. Again, a brand new animal for us. I think a pretty neat one. A very safe animal for guests to hold as long as you're gentle with her. I feel like older children and adults can probably handle this animal with no problem. If you would like to face your fears and hold a bug. As you can see, now that she's settled down, she's not really moving anymore. So pretty cool. Can you see her a little better? There's that little tail in the back. 2 long arms that are used as like feelers. little claws on the front, which are similar to scorpion claws, but honestly, they don't pinch. They just kind of they do like this type of maneuver. They kind of curl into themselves and have little tiny spikes on the inside. So that's how they would catch their food, like a little glove, like whoosh, they catch their food, but they would use both of them at the same time. And then to chew, they have like kind of chewing mouths. Since they don't have any venom, they have to be able to chew their food. Otherwise, their food won't be eaten. But like, for example, tarantulas, they don't chew. Tarantulas will envenomate their prey with fangs, and then they'll actually drink their food. Whereas this animal doesn't have venom. So instead, they would actually just chew up their food. They have like a chewing mouth, which is called chelicerae. Chelicerae is their mouth parts. And the claws are called pedipalps. They're not really claws, they're pedipalps. In the arm. And you may have noticed that Pickles has one skinny arm longer than the other. But don't worry, that should actually regenerate when they molt. Like any other invertebrate, they do molt when they grow bigger. I'm trying to show my face. There we go. They do molt when they grow bigger. And typically when they molt, they regenerate their limbs. So she should be okay. This is one of the longer lived invertebrates as well, which is really cool for animal programs. So we can keep her for a long time, hopefully. These guys can actually live into their 20s for a female. And we're pretty certain that this is a female because of the appearance. Males actually have a different appearance than females. They have different looking arms or pedipalps, and they have a different looking abdomen, and she looks like a female to me, so we're just gonna hope she's a female. However, males still live a long time too. They live for about 8 years, and females up to 20 or so. So a drastic difference, but compared to other invertebrates, it's actually a long time. Even 8 years is a long time compared to other inverts. Okay, Pickles, you did a great job. We will keep everybody posted and updated on Pickles' progress. She has eaten for me. She's doing very well. She's gone to a couple of programs already, which was really fun. Everybody seemed to be very interested and curious. This is definitely an animal that most people don't recognize, but they do live right here in the United States, which I find so interesting. There's so many invertebrates out there in the world that people may not know what they are. To me, they kind of look like a mix between a sea creature, a roach, and a scorpion. They do mimic scorpions to scare away enemies, and then, like I said, for defense, they will spray or puff you with a smell, which is really not that big of a deal. Kind of like a stink bug. Okay, Pickles, say bye to TikTok. Bye, TikTok. She's waving goodbye. And then say bye to the rest of everyone. Bye, rest of everyone. Thanks, Pickles. You did a great job. I believe that is the smallest animal that we have today. So hopefully I won't have to do a whole lot of focus and refocus action for the rest of the show. But I think she did a wonderful job. So we'll let her go back down and rest. I have seen vinegaroons get a little bit bigger than her, but we'll see how much she grows. They never really stop growing their whole life as a cold-blooded animal. But they do slow down quite a bit as an adult. So as an adult, they shouldn't molt very often, but as babies, they molt a lot more because they're growing up and need to grow quickly in order to survive, right? And not be eaten by everybody in sight. So that was Pickles. I hope you liked her. Let me know how you think. Or what you think about her. How do you think? What do you think? Very good. I'm actually going to change I think I'm going to change the position of where where TikTok is. Since Instagram didn't work out, I'll take this device down. Hi, everybody on TikTok. If you're just joining us, my name is Amanda. I'm going to put you guys, behind the scenes view there. I'm going to put you guys up higher. I think that will be much better for the angle. And bear with me, guys. Thank you for your patience. That's better, right? I think so. Hi, TikTok. Sorry we couldn't go live on Instagram today. We will do our best to do that very soon, and especially next time. Don't let me forget, everybody, to update my device once the show is nearing the end. Okay, you guys, if you're just joining us, my name is Amanda, and this is our Once in a Wild Wednesday live stream. We do now go live every once a month on the first Wednesday of the month, unless otherwise noted. We get busy or something like that. Sometimes we still get programming on the first Wednesday of the month. We try to do our best, but those programs are very important. That's how we feed everybody and keep in business. Let's go ahead. Let me think. Let's go ahead and meet a lizard friend next. And this one's actually going to be somebody that we've had for a while. But it is our rescue animal that I was mentioning earlier. So pardon their appearance. But this animal is certainly shedding right now. You can see like a little bit of different coloration on the back and things. So this is Dino. However, Dino, I believe, is a girl. So we've been watching Dino grow over the last at least a year or so. More than that, I think. I think Dino has actually been with us for longer than a year. We'll have to look back and see. But Dino is a rescue savanna monitor. So this is a savanna monitor, and they come from the savannas of Africa. And in nature, they're going to live, like I said, in the wild, in the savannas. They are very good predators. And most of what they eat is actually bugs. So they're going to eat things like scorpions and other invertebrates, like tarantulas and insects, of course. They're mostly insectivores. Unlike most monitor lizards, which eat everything in sight as long as it's an animal. However, these guys will also eat things like eggs and other animals like rodents and birds too, no problem. But most of the majority of their food is going to be insects and invertebrates. So that is really the healthiest diet for them. Let's make sure we're in focus, Dino. So Dino may have the nickname of Dina because I think Dina is actually a girl lizard because we have not grown a super lot for the length of time that I've had this animal. Should be much bigger as a male. I have worked with lots of male savanna monitors. However, we don't know much of this one's history because it was literally a stray lizard found in a field in North Texas where they don't belong. So it must have been somebody's pet at some point, because we are extremely tame. This is a very tame savanna monitor. You would know if it was not a tame savanna monitor, they'd be trying to eat my face off, especially in the wild. I can't speak for every wild animal because I've never met every wild animal, but in the wild especially, I would imagine that they are not super friendly, right? And a lot of savanna monitors are wild caught, unfortunately. That is just one of those things that happens with the species for the pet trade. This one may be wild caught as well as a baby, but has certainly been acclimated as a pet for a while because of their personality, I assume. So was very tame from the start. But anyway, haven't progressed in growth as much as the male should have. And also, I have been told, and all the research that I've done, the face, if they're pointed like hers, kind of pointy, it's hard to tell in the video, but much more pointy than a male's more rounded. Female pointing, get it? Pointed face, pointing to female, in my opinion. So I am going to call this animal a girl. I also have never seen any evidence of male parts. So until we see that, we'll call this one a female. How about that? So you're no longer unknown. We're going to refer to you as she. If that's okay with you, you let me know if you want to be referred to as the other. And so Dina, or Dino, either way, is a savanna monitor. These guys are carnivorous, but mostly insectivores in the wild and going to be able to be opportunistic as well. So here and there, going to eat other things, but definitely not eating any sort of vegetables. They're only eating other animals. They don't have an omnivore's diet. They have a carnivore's diet. So they are pretty cool. Monitor lizards in general are some of the largest species of lizard on the planet. In fact, the biggest lizard in the world is the Komodo dragon, of course, which is the biggest of all the monitors. But monitors can be small as well. For example, the Aki monitor is an Australian variety of monitor that's super tiny. It's about as big as the tail of this animal, super small. And then the Savannah monitor is one of those kind of medium to small monitor lizards as well, depending on gender and things like that. So again, about their backdrop, about their background, how we got this animal. We ended up getting a call from our wildlife rehabber who was able to get us our opossums, for example. She's not a lizard person and she's not a reptile expert, but she was actually called by somebody that had found a savanna monitor running around in a field, and they were able to collect the animal and take them home. But they didn't end up wanting to keep this animal. So they ended up turning it into the rehabber. And then the rehabber called us because we had just met not that long ago, like that same year. And she was like, hey, I know you know reptiles. Would you like a savanna monitor? And I was like, is it tame? Because if it's not a tame savanna monitor, I'm not interested in programming, although I can help you find it a good home, of course, right? But a not tame savanna monitor is one of the more difficult type of lizards to take care of, and certainly not a good animal ambassador, at least for handling and things like that. So Dino ended up being super tame. So I said, okay, I'll give it a try. These guys aren't typically the healthiest in captivity as well. So that was another kind of risk we took, but we've been doing wonderfully, knock on wood, and we're thriving and doing very well. You'll notice all these kind of patches of skin, and that is all shedding skin. Monitor lizards tend to shed in patches and kind of just all the time. Big patches, small patches, depending on what's going on, right? So it's not a tegu. Hi, TikTok. It's not a tegu. This is a Savannah monitor. We think it's a girl Savannah monitor. We're kind of smaller. Boy and girl Savannah monitors and most monitor lizards in the monitor family are drastically different sized for male versus female. I find it very interesting because a lot of reptiles are not dimorphic or different between male and female. Some you have females that are huge because of egg laying and giving birth, and then you have some lizards like iguanas and monitor lizards where the females are much smaller than the males. So it's all silly to me, but that is just the case for Savannah monitors. So we think she's a girl. Is she not like the cutest thing ever? I think they're so prehistoric looking, right? To me, they look like a velociraptor, although we know these guys are not related to the velociraptor. That's more of a bird-like prehistoric animal, right? But these guys remind me in the face of the movie Velociraptors from like Jurassic Park and things like that. So I like them a lot. Beautiful tongue, right? These guys do have a forked tongue similar to a snake. And they do pick up scent particles with their forked tongue. The forked tongue also gives them a little bit of the same type of maneuver that like antenna would on the insect. It helps to give them directional smell and even taste for the species because they do taste and smell. Whereas a snake, for example, would actually stick out their tongue and only pick up scent particles and not any sense of taste with their tongue. But these guys have all 5 senses. In fact, the monitor lizards in general are called monitor because they see extremely well. These and most lizards, for that matter, see very well. But it is said that monitor lizards would like look out for danger for humans and any other living things living out in the savannah, and actually pick up more dangerous animals than them in general, like activity. So they would probably spot an animal and then react to it, whether by running towards it to eat it or running away from it because it's dangerous. For example, a elephant or a buffalo or something large like that that's not even a predator, they may notice them and like run away, and then humans would oftentimes watch the monitor lizards and monitor them monitoring other animals, and they would be able to see how reactive they were. This is a very reactive and very intelligent animal. So these guys do have all 5 senses super heightened, and they have extremely smart brains as well. They are problem-solving animals, tegus and monitors, and some other lizards too, like bearded dragons and even iguanas too. Very reactive and very smart. Very, very aware of what's going on, right? One of the smartest animals, in my opinion. Crocodiles are also like that too, although crocodilians, like alligators and crocodiles and more, those guys are not really closely related to lizards at all. So when it comes to lizards, though, there are some really smart cookies out there. And Savannah monitors and other monitor lizards are some of the smartest that we found in kind of keeping them and understanding them and studying them in zoos or as pets. I do not recommend Savannah monitors or any monitor lizard, really, for a pet for a beginner reptile keeper. Some Savannah monitors are nice. Some monitors in general may be better pet choices, like the Aki monitor is a smaller monitor. This one, even as small as she is, she's really not that big, right? This is about the size of like a big bearded dragon or something like that. Even as small as she is, I would recommend a very large enclosure. In fact, she's in the equivalent of a 200-gallon enclosure because they do utilize all of that space and run around. Otherwise, you're going to have to exercise them every single day by letting them run around a room or something like that, which isn't super ideal, to be honest, because they really need to be under a lot of heat. And these guys require quite hot basking areas and quite hot temperatures in general. So not super good for beginners, although for experienced keepers, Savannah monitors are one of the better, in my opinion, because they can tend to be mellow, and they can tend to not get as big as some of the other monitors, like water monitors and crocodile monitors and all those guys. There's many different kinds of monitor lizards. All right. But these guys are super smart, super sensitive. They have all their 5 senses. Their hearing is really good. Their eyesight amazing. Sense of smell and taste and touch. All 5 are very, very good. So Dino is doing very well overall. I just wanted to kind of update you guys. I will keep doing so. This animal and the vinegaroon are both pickles, are both available for programs and things like that if you would like to meet them in person. This one is a petable animal, but we do all the handling for you. We don't let people handle her. And but a mellow animal, a great show program animal, if you will, and also petable or photo op, things like that. So if you want to meet them in person, I understand. They are pretty cool. All the shedding skin is everywhere. We'll do some more soaks and see if that helps you get your skin off so you can grow up. See how they're kind of like they use their claws a lot to like climb. These guys are okay climbers. They're not the climbiest of all the monitor lizards, but they are more of a ground, even underground sometimes, and maybe like fallen branch, rocks, maybe a smaller tree or bush. They could try to climb that. As babies, though, they're going to climb a lot more because they are smaller, lighter, the bigger they get. And if they're males especially, they're about 2 or 3 times as big as this at this age. They're going to do less, a little bit harder the bigger you get, just like anybody, right? It's like us. I used to climb trees a lot when I was a spry little youngin', but the bigger I get, the less I climb, right? But I did like to climb stuff as a kid. I was a big kind of like a little billy goat. I like to climb everything. But anyways, I hope you guys have enjoyed seeing Dino again, or should I say Dina? Dino or Dina. I don't think they care at all, but I think this is a girl lizard. You want to cuddle him? Aw, that's so cute. And yeah, so that is our second animal of the night. Yes, say bye, TikTok. Whoa, we're going to jump right out of my hand. Perfect timing. So we're going to let them go back down. This animal is actually very well behaved for a Savannah monitor, like I keep saying over and over again. I have had really interesting experiences. Got to make sure and shut that lid. I've had really interesting experiences with monitors in general. Savannah monitors are one of the more common pet monitors, and at least in my past of working in like the reptile pet trade and things like that. That is one of my first jobs that I ever had, was being a reptile kind of like storefront keeper, and also reptile warehouse keeper, and just being in that kind of world of herp keeping in the pet trade. And Savannahs have always been one of the more popular because, especially back in the day, they were really easy to collect out of the wild. They weren't super rare. They're easy to find in the wild, so they would collect them up. You could bring in a whole bunch of babies for very little cost. And then they don't get as big as some of the other are enormous and really aren't suitable for pets for really anybody, unless you're a very advanced keeper, in my opinion. The Savannah monitor is still an advanced lizard, in my opinion, too. So just be very careful in your choices of reptile. There's far better, like easier pet lizards, like the blue-tongued skink, leopard geckos, crested geckos, bearded dragons, things like that. They all have their challenges, but much less challenges than a monitor lizard. So shall we meet a snake next? I think we should. When I get settled here, we're going to bring out one of our favorite snake animal ambassadors. Just going to kind of give my hands a little wash in between some of the animals. It's always wise. Most of our snakes in our mobile zoo are very holdable and certainly touchable by guests. Snakes are some of my favorites of all the animals, and also favorites to bring on programs because they're so touchable, interactive, and people can hold them for photos and really get to know snakes. Also, snakes tend to have kind of a bad reputation in general, and a lot of people are afraid of them. All of our snakes here at Once in a Wild are harmless to humans, although we definitely want to make sure that all the kiddos and new people to reptiles know that if you see a snake in the wild, we don't pick them up unless you're a professional, something like a herpetologist or a snake remover or something like that. Obviously, I'm not talking to you guys. I'm not talking to animal control or any animal professionals. In the general population, especially children, we want to make sure and leave wildlife alone, and they'll leave you alone too. But snakes are, my goodness. If I had to pick a favorite animal, it would be snakes any day of the week because I love them. So here is one of my favorite snakes that we have. His name is Long, which is actually a Mandarin word. It is not an English word, although he is long. Long means dragon in Mandarin or Chinese. So that gives you a clue of where the snake actually comes from. This is the Chinese beauty snake. So this is Long. He is, how old are you now? Are you about 5 years old? Beautiful colubrid, which is my favorite kind of grouping of snakes. So when we talk about snakes in general, there's 4 main categories I like to tell the kiddos, right? So you've got constrictors, which are boas and pythons. Those are your true heavy muscled constrictors, right? They use their body to squeeze, and they have to use their body to squeeze to be able to eat stuff. Some of your skinnier snakes, like this guy, may choose to wrap around their prey, but they don't always. So they're not really true constrictors, although they use constriction sometimes. I know a lot of corn snakes that still like to squeeze their food, and then they eat them right away. But true constrictors, that's all they got. That's all they have to be able to eat large prey is their muscle power. So they have to squeeze their prey. And then we have snakes like venomous, and venomous have their own kind of like subcategories, like vipers and elapids and all kinds of other snakes too. Then you've got the weirdos. You've got sea snakes. Sea snakes are their own thing. Look them up. They're super strange, super venomous, but a lot of them never bite humans. So they're kind of a strange, their own thing. And then you've got all the leftovers, which we call colubrids. Colubrids are things like rat snakes and king snakes and milk snakes and corn snakes and hognose snakes. So there's many other kind of leftover snakes as well. I feel like the longer we're alive and studying animals, there are probably going to be more kind of categories of snakes as well. But those are your four main kind of groupings of snakes in general. Of course, he's not venomous. I wouldn't be holding him otherwise. He's a colubrid. So this is in the rat snake family. So they are a type of rat snake, and they're called the Chinese beauty snake. There's many other beauty snakes, and beauty snakes are a type of rat snake. When we say rat snake, it really just means rodents. They eat rodents. But what's confusing is they don't just eat rodents. Rat snakes are really good at hunting birds. So rat snakes in general, as you may be able to tell by his behavior right now, they're amazing climbers. These guys climb with ease, with having no arms and no legs, no problem. These guys are incredible climbers. As you can see, he's even got a prehensile tail, which is wrapped around my kind of arm over there. And they move their body all over the place to be able to just climb with no arms and legs. They're very slender. The beauty snakes in general are amazing and slender and gorgeous, and they have all these beautiful colors and patterns. It's no wonder they call them the beauty snake. They're kind of like jewelry, right? Gorgeous. He looks like he's actually about to shed as well. So not even as beautiful as he usually is. Can you believe that? Although it looks like we're just about to shed, because I see a little bit of skin trying to come off. Everybody's shedding, Dino and Long as well. But these, aren't they beautiful? So these are in the rat snake family. We have many rat snakes here in the United States where I live, including the Texas rat snake, the Baird's rat snake, black rat snakes. There's so many rat snakes. And rat snakes, of course, are harmless to people. If you ever see, especially in Texas, if you see a snake that's climbing up a tree, or that's like in a weird spot, maybe like on your rafters or something like that, or climbing a brick wall or something crazy, and it's slender bodied like this, maybe totally different color than this, obviously. But if you see a snake in a strange predicament or up a tree, etc., it's almost always a rat snake. And if you have a snake in your area, the best thing to do is honestly to leave it alone. Put your pets inside if you can, and leave them alone. I know there are, of course, chickens, and there are outdoor pets that you have to leave outside. But if you call your pets inside, etc., if you can't, and your animals that you own want to harm the snake or want to get in trouble that way, that is understandably an emergency, right? So what you want to do, though, is not necessarily harm the snake, because that's going to put you in a position where the snake wants to fight back. And how do they fight back? With their mouth. And some snakes are they're venomous, right? So they're going to be more dangerous than a rat snake. A rat snake bite is nothing, you guys. It's literally nothing. It's like Velcro teeth. It doesn't even get infected. Like you'll heal up in no time. It's a very clean mouth. It really is. And so a snake bite that's non-venomous is absolutely nothing, and nothing to your animals. I would be more worried about your dog or cat hurting a snake that's non-venomous than vice versa. And animals like coral snakes, for example, or smaller venomous snakes typically don't even bite larger animals or humans. But what you want to worry about, of course, is like your vipers and things like that. So if you have a snake of any kind and you don't know what it is, the best thing to do is take a picture and try to find a snake group on social media somewhere. It could be Discord, or it could be, got a fly in here, or it could be like Facebook. There are snake identification groups, and you can also contact your local snake removal service, because it does exist. Usually animal control will also help as well, but if they can't help, they will typically refer you to a professional snake remover service. And that is the best way to handle that. Most of the time, they're going to safely remove the snake and relocate them to somewhere safe for them. Snakes almost never return back to the same place because they're not that smart. Unlike the monitor lizard, they're not super smart animals. So they're not going to be like, oh, I need to get back to that same house or that same family to live again. That was such a great place to live. They're not really thinking about that. They're very kind of just go with the flow animals, whereas an animal like a raccoon or etc. may tend to return. These guys really don't do that. So typically snakes are not a problem and not bad for you to have around in general. But if you're afraid of snakes, I understand. A lot of people are. And if you're afraid of a venomous snake, I completely understand, because you probably have pets and children. Don't put yourself in harm's way or your kids in harm's way by approaching the snake and trying to harm them. That's the best way to get bitten. That's really the number one way of getting bitten, is either by picking them up when you don't know what you're doing or trying to harm them. And even after you do away with the snake, if you know what I mean, it can still bite you. So you have to be extremely careful. It is highly recommended across the board by all professionals to let a professional handle that snake, and they will not harm it. They will actually safely remove and relocate the snake, because snakes are super important animals. They're my favorite animal, even the venomous kind. You may be thinking, you're crazy. Why do you like venomous snakes? Venomous snakes are amazing animals and want nothing to do with humans. They would rather be left alone to do their job, which is eating a lot of pests. So these guys do eat birds. They can climb trees to collect eggs and eat them. They can get little birds to eat as well. But as you can see, he's not a very large snake. The Chinese beauty snake is one of the smaller of the beauty snakes, but they can still eat some prey, obviously. And when they're babies, they tend to eat lizards and frogs and things like that. And they're not super into eating other snakes, but I'm not saying it can't happen ever, because I'm sure it can if they're desperate enough. Can you guys see my snake earrings dangling from my ears? Because I love snakes so much. Yes, indeed. This is a gorgeous snake. I do love the Chinese beauty snake, because they do have kind of 3 patterns in one. They've got a patternless neck with a beautiful face attached to it. A patternless neck, a very busy, almost garter snake type checkering on most of their body, all the way to the midsection. And then the tail is actually striped. So it has stripes going down the tail along with the tail. See that? I'm sure you've already noticed, but he's got a striped tail, not a banded tail. Banding is different, but stripes are what he has. The stripes on the tail. And even the ventral could be considered another pattern, which is the belly. Ventral is belly in the animal world. So the belly is pretty much kind of patternless with a couple of spots. So the belly, the neck, the body, and the tail. I'm going to let him grab my wrist, because I think he feels better hanging on to something like a hand. They don't have hands, but their tail can sometimes be their hand. Right. Oh, here we have a question about the ducklings from before. So the last time we went live, we had some of our new ducklings on here. They're all grown up pretty much. That was fast. And we ended up naming them Takis and Chamoy, because our other 2 ducks are Pekin ducks, rather. We do have 2 wood ducks as well, but our other domestic ducks are Lucas and Gansito. So we went with Lucas, Gansito, Takis, and Chamoy to have a little bit of a theme. Chamoy is a girl because she's quacking a lot, and Takis is a boy. He's been super quiet. That's actually one way to tell the gender of your duck if you ever get a pet duck. If they start quacking really loud, and I promise it's really obvious. If you're like, I'm not sure, quacking is extremely loud when they want to quack. So the quack, quack, quack sound, that is a girl. And the kind of whispery, nice little quiet voice, that is a boy. So we got a pair, I believe. All signs are pointing to pair when it comes to those guys. So stay tuned. Maybe we'll have some more videos of them and things like that. It is hard to bring ducks on the live stream once they grow up, because they're so messy and so chaotic. But as babies, I wanted to seize that moment and get them on the live stream last time. If you missed that one, I'm not sure if we recorded it, so sorry about it, but I can always go back and look. But we do have photos of them on social media, like Instagram and things like that. Long is going behind me, climbing around. These guys are gorgeous, you guys. We have another snake to meet today. I thought I would bring 2 snakes, 2 of my favorites today. So Long is one of my favorites. My favorite of all our snakes is probably our California king snake. His name is Slytherin. He is just such a special personality, and I've always liked black and white animals. It's one of my things. But this guy is pretty close as well. And then I've got another snake who's still a little baby. So let's go ahead and bring him out, and we can continue to talk about snake adaptations and things like that. But those are some of the things that make a Chinese beauty snake special in general, is their amazing climbing ability. They are a very arboreal or tree-dwelling animal. They can be on the ground too, but they actually live in the forests of China, as you might imagine. They're going to be more high altitude in China. They actually prefer a cooler temperature than other snakes do in general. So they're super easy to actually keep in human care. They're one of my favorites to actually handle and keep because they don't need a ton of heat. In fact, he has no extra heat in his enclosure because room temperature is just perfect for them and they thrive that way. As you can see, he's doing very well. As long as you give them enough room and something to climb on every now and then, they're super happy and somewhere to hide, just like any other snake. Most snakes need somewhere to hide, and if they're climbing snakes, they like something to climb on occasion. He's either hiding down below or he's climbing a tree, so he's kind of like either or, just like I said. But that is a super special and gorgeous, beautiful Chinese beauty snake. So let's go ahead and meet an Australian snake. So we have met a Vinegaroon, was our first animal. She was a new animal, right? The Vinegaroon is an animal from kind of the central western United States, including West Texas and Nevada and outskirts and Mexico. And that was an arachnid. Sorry, Long is not being cooperative with going back in his travel enclosure. There we go. Sometimes these guys don't want to go back in. I understand. They don't know what's going on. So let's see. The Vinegaroon is from the United States and a little bit of Mexico as well. So North America. And then we had our Savannah monitor, which is actually a African species, right? And then we met something from China. So an Asian species. We're world travelers today. We're going all over the place. This next one is actually an Australian species, and it is another snake. I couldn't help myself. I wanted to bring not one, but two of my favorite species of snakes. And it is our lovely, beautiful, adorable Woma python. So this is actually in the constrictor family, or grouping, I should say. Not really a family, but grouping. It's a constrictor, technically. It's not a very big constrictor at this time. They can get much bigger than this, of course, because this is a baby. This one is about 2 years old, more or less. The other one is around 5 years old, but a completely different species. So different sizes, of course. This is a Woma python. Woma, like the word woman without the N. So Woma. And this is Logan, by the way. Logan is a male baby Woma python, just a little bit shy of 2 years old, I believe, now. Maybe a little bit old. I can't remember. We'll have to look back at records. I'm very, very bad at remembering dates and things, so I'll have to look back and visually check. But we are a baby. We're still a young thing. Doing very well. We eat like a champ. We shed like a champ. We're doing great. So continue to thrive, Logan. You're wonderful. So this is a python, technically, but you might see that they're actually quite slender. They're not super muscular and heavy-bodied like most pythons are. So this is a very kind of strange little family of pythons, which include the Woma python and the black-headed python, and they're both from Australia. So they kind of broke away and did their own thing. Also, most pythons actually have heat-sensing pits similar to vipers on their lips. So labial heat-sensing pits on, for example, the good old ball python. Ball pythons have little heat-sensing pits on their lips. They're like little holes. These guys actually don't have that. So that makes them a little bit more special. And they tend to be slender-bodied and not super strong-bodied. Some python species like reticulated pythons and even like Indian pythons and others do still have a slender look, but they're much bigger overall, right? They're much, much bigger. This is not a very big snake in general, although it is still in the python family, so they are true constrictors. They just constrict to kill their prey. They have no heat-sensing pits, though, which makes them really weird. They're still a python, so they still lay eggs, whereas a boa constrictor would actually give live birth, and so do anacondas, which are in the boa family, by the way. So those are some of your differences between pythons and boas. But these guys are super special, and they're my favorite type of python. The Woma python and the black-headed python, probably equally my favorite, though the Woma has really grown on me over the years over the black-headed python because I worked with them more, and I think they're really cute snake. They have one of the cutest little faces for all the snakes. They have like cute little eyebrows right above their eyes. Now, the little eyebrow markings are actually kind of like sunglasses. Kind of like when some football players put like the grease or like the makeup right there, right? To help deflect the sun, almost like sunglasses. And that is because this animal typically lives in a desert habitat. So you might be thinking, duh, Australia, desert habitat. But Australia actually has all kinds of different biomes and habitats. But these guys tend to live in a drier climate. They are pretty much only nocturnal, but they can come out in the day if they have to. Maybe there's an emergency. Maybe they need to get from one place to another. They typically live underground throughout the day, and they'll come out at night to be able to hunt, or they might just stay put at night because, of course, as a snake, they don't have to eat every day. These guys eat, I would say, in the wild, maybe like once a week at this age, and maybe once a month as an adult. So they really don't have to venture out and eat that often, although they would probably like to eat more than once a month. they can definitely go even longer than that without eating as a python goes. But if they do venture out in the night to get a drink of water or whatever it may be, right? These guys would like I said, more nighttime's wiser, but sometimes they do have to come out in the day. Say they're underground in their tunnel where they live, which they typically live in kind of narrow tunnels, which is why they're more slender body, remember? So they typically live in slender tunnels that other animals have created and things, but they might live in other like little cave situations. But if they come out and it is during the day, maybe something chased them out, like a predator or something like that, or maybe they're chasing something, you never know. Maybe a human scared them out. Maybe their area got flash flooded and forced them out. You never know. But they do come out every now and then in the day, and that is why they actually have kind of a slender belly. So their slender belly, their ventral, is pretty skinny compared to other snakes, and they kind of have an appearance of like a kind of a spine that sticks out. That is how they're supposed to look, because their body is almost like flat. Well, it reminds me of a sea snake. It's hard to see on camera. Maybe you guys can see the spine kind of sticking up. That's how they're supposed to look. He's not skinny, although he's probably ready to eat at this point. It's about feeding time. But this is how they're supposed to look. They have that kind of slender back and a more slender belly than most other pythons. For example, like a ball python, which also lives in a fairly warm climate in the savanna of Africa. Those guys have a very wide belly because they don't have to skitter across hot sand. These guys spend, like I said, most of their time underground. But if they have to come out, they don't want to touch their belly down to too much because it's hot in the daytime, right? So that's why they have evolved this very, very slender ventral. And it's hard to explain to somebody who's not into snakes or doesn't know snakes as well as me. But that is quite the slender belly. You can see that orange kind of stripe they have on their belly. See the orange? It's very, very bright. That is their belly. It's very, very, very small, very slender, very cute. I love them. I think they're adorable. Their face is adorable. Let's teach you a little bit about snakes if you don't already know. Snakes in general, their best senses. Snakes don't have ears, so their worst sense is their sense of hearing. They really don't have any. They can experience sound through their bones, through their jawline, through their bodies in general, just feeling sounds. And it is debatable whether they can hear a little bit, because they do have an inner ear, but they really don't, in my opinion, react to sound at all. As long as it's not, if it's like very vibraty, obviously they'll feel that. If it's very lots of bass music or heavy footsteps, they can pick up vibrations that way, just like a deaf person could. But they're traditionally deaf, so they really can't hear. So they don't use their hearing to hunt. They use their sense of smell to hunt. They do have eyes, but most snakes have pretty poor vision. Some snakes have better vision than others, and some snakes and most snakes have pretty poor eyesight. Their eyesight's pretty blurry in general, doesn't really see color in general, and they're more designed to smell things. And how do they smell? It's not with their nose, weirdos. It's actually with their tongue. So just like the Savannah monitor that we met earlier, Dina, right? Or Dino. They have a forked tongue. All snakes are like that. Only some lizards have a forked tongue. And all snakes have a forked tongue. That's a feature of every snake, even sea snakes. They do have a forked tongue that is very slender. And they stick out their tongue to pick up scent particles. And if you might imagine, they have almost like antenna of a bug, right? Or even the little arms of the vinegaroon. It's a sensory organ to sense touch as well. But they take it a step further and they can sense smell in stereo. Weird. That is actually super similar to how we sense hearing. Most of us have two ears on one on either side of their head, right? And that way we can get stereo hearing, right? We can sense where things are going on all the way around us. Most animals have two ears, right? Some animals are weird and have no ears. Some animals are weird and hear with other organs, like maybe like feeling hairs and things like that. But if you think about it, we hear with hairs too inside of our ears, right? So we're not really all that different. We're all similar, aren't we? But snakes are strange in that manner, that they have kind of stereo scent, sense of smell. So they'll stick their tongue out, collect scent particles from the air, collect scent particles off of surfaces, like in my hand in this case. Ooh, what's this? And they can actually determine what's going on around them pretty well just by smell. And the tongue comes out. The tongue will go back in their mouth, and they've got a special organ on the roof of their mouth. It's like a little pocket on the roof of their mouth, like a hole, and that is called a Jacobson's organ, or a pheromonasal organ. Jacobson's organ is what I like to call it because it's a lot easier to say. But Jacobson's organ, I think it was somebody that discovered it, etc. I'm sure it was. And that is basically a sensory organ that is directly connected to the brain. You might be thinking, wow, that's so cool that snakes have that. They're not the only ones that have that. We kind of got gypped in that department as a human, but a lot of animals do have a Jacobson's organ on the roof of their mouth. For example, a horse, a cat. Those are two that I can think of right off the top of my head that actually have a Jacobson's organ in their mouth. They don't have a forked tongue like a snake, right? But what a cat or a horse can do is kind of flex their lips and mouth parts, and that will kind of open up that Jacobson organ a little bit more, and they can kind of sniff and breathe in at the same time, and that can give them extra information about like hormones and all kinds of things that they're smelling. Typically, mammals that have a Jacobson's organ in their mouth to sense more smell and information, they usually use that during like breeding time and things like that, so hormonal changes, etc. Or something really interesting smelling. You might see a cat do like a really weird like curled lip face. That is typically what that means. It's their Jacobson's organ they're trying to activate a little bit better. But a snake, that's literally what they use all the time, every second of their life that they're awake, is they will stick their tongue out, put their tongue back in their mouth. Not only does that give them directional sense of smell, but also gives them lots of information that we can't even imagine as a human to the brain. And that's how they learn. And it's, of course, how they hunt as well. So when a snake's ready to eat, they're going to stick their tongue out a lot and figure out what's food in a split second, because they only have a little bit of time before that food runs off. Their food is live, right? Their food is living animal. And typically snakes don't eat dead stuff in the wild, but they certainly can if they happen to find a dead animal. But typically, it's gonna decompose, so they're not going to have a whole lot of time to find a dead animal. And a lot of other animals would rather eat a dead animal than a live one. These guys are hunters, so they will eat live things. They'll also eat things like eggs and baby animals that don't move very fast. But sometimes their opportunities are going to be very, very short. So they need to figure out what's going on with their sense of smell right away. And that tells their brain, ooh, 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 that's food, and I'm hungry, I better reach out and grab it. And then they'll reach out and grab their food with their mouth. Some snakes have venom, so they'll bite and let go and let the venom kind of take effect and then go back once that prey has passed away, and they'll eat it whole, right? All snakes eat their prey whole and swallow it down in one bite. But if an animal is a python or even a colubrid, like the rat snake that we just met, the beauty snake, right? Long, he's a colubrid. So he may choose to wrap around a prey if it's wiggling around too much. Or sometimes colubrids just start eating stuff, even if it is wiggling. A great example of that is the king snake. King snakes will usually just Pac-Man their food right down the gullet, and they don't even care. They're not afraid of anything. King snakes are some of the coolest snakes, when it comes to their diet, because they don't care. They'll eat other snakes, including venomous ones. But these guys are a python. So what they'll do is grab, and their teeth are numerous. There's lots of teeth, but it's more like Velcro. It sticks to things, especially furry things, right? Furry mammals, feathery birds, things like that. So that's going to work really well to be able to grab. And then usually if they have enough space, and I'll get to my point in a minute, if they have enough space, as a python in general, they'll wrap right around that prey and suffocate them to death. And not just suffocate, but stop their blood from flowing. So essentially they're going to squeeze them and constrict around them little by little for around 5 minutes. And that's going to ensure that that prey is dead. And then they can eat it. That's very important to the snake because prey is not happy about being eaten. So you might think that's a little bit gruesome, but honestly, the way that pythons and other constrictors hunt is pretty humane. They grab and squeeze right away. They're not going to let that prey move. So it's really not going to have much of a struggle, to be honest, maybe a little bit. But if they don't get a good grip on the prey and they don't continue to squeeze, that prey could fight back and really hurt them as well. So it's really important for your captive snakes. If you have a pet snake or you want to get one, hooray, you're one of us. We want to make sure that we are feeding frozen, thawed, already dead prey to the best that we can. Sometimes you get a picky eating snake. This one's not. But sometimes you get a picky eating ball python or something like that, and you may need to have live prey every now and then, but usually they acclimate to eating dead stuff as long as it's warmed up to the right temperature, the stars are aligned, you do the right rain dance, and I'm talking about ball python. Those guys are challenging, although I have one ball python prince that eats like a champ. And the other one is like, you never know what you're going to get. But there are tricks and tips to feeding ball pythons that work very well. So every ball python's different. But those guys are, for me, the most difficult to feed as far as the commonly kept pet snakes. They're not my favorite, if you can't tell. I do love the ones we had, but they're a pain in the butt sometimes. But most snakes will eat frozen thawed food as long as you kind of do a little wiggling maneuver. But a lot of snakes, you can just leave their food in their enclosure and they'll find it and get it. The best thing to do is feed them at night as well. Make sure everything's thawed out properly and room temperature or warmer body temperature, right? And they should understand that that's food right away. How do you warm up the rodent, you may be wondering, or the feeder, maybe a chick or something like that, or any other type of feeding animal that you're offering your animal. You could warm them up in some warm water and then kind of dry them off, pat them dry, and usually a snake would eat them right away. As long as they're not too hot or too cold, we want to make sure they're all the way thawed. So what I recommend, in case you're wondering, for your feeders is to purchase frozen. When you're ready to thaw the frozen rodent, you put them in your refrigerator in the bag or whatever, put them in the refrigerator and let them thaw for 2 days. And then that second day, you should be able to pull them out, warm them up in some not like boiling water, but warm water, and let them warm up, especially for your ball pythons, and dry them off with like a rag or a towel or a paper towel, I guess. And then you can offer it to your snake with like feeding tongs, or if it's, I got a tail, you can hold it up by the tail, or you can leave it in the enclosure and see what they do. But every snake is different, so they're a little bit challenging. Most of our snakes, out of the 12 that are animal ambassadors for Once in a Wild, we also have another snake that lives here right now temporarily. He's another ball python. But out of the 13 snakes in my care currently, most of them eat like champs, and the only ones that don't are the ball pythons. So none of them are really a challenge at all, except for them. So just tell you a little bit of a tip from me to you. But these guys in the wild, one fun thing about a Woma python, since they do tend to live... Why can't I talk today? They do tend to live in very narrow tunnels, remember? So they're a narrow, slender snake from living in tunnels for years and years and years over their evolution, right? They've developed a very skinny body, right? So they're not the strongest of all the pythons, and they're not the thickest of all the pythons, right? They're not super thick. They're going to be more slender. So these guys tend to pin their prey up against the walls if they can't wrap around. So if there's not enough room inside their tunnel system where they live, it might just be kind of squeezed in there, right? It might be kind of narrow, it might be kind of claustrophobic in there. They would grab and then try to pin the prey up against the side of the wall. Another snake that does that as well is one of my favorites. It's the bull snake. Bull snakes are so sassy and so cool. They eat like champs. They're incredible snakes. I just love snakes in general, if you can't tell. But I used to have a bull snake in my old collection way back in ye olden days named Buster, because he would bust out of enclosures. He was a hot mess, but he was so strong. And bull snakes can get really big. They get almost as big as indigo snakes, I think. And indigos are one of the biggest colubrids in the world. They're huge. Indigos are my favorite snake species. And someday we should have an indigo in our collection. But for now, I'm happy to have Logan and Long and Slytherin and all the other favorites that I have. 100 favorites. But anyway, the bigger colubrids that may go into tunnels and hunt on occasion, a bull snake will do whatever it takes to eat their prey. They're tenacious as heck. But a bull snake can also pin up. I saw my bull snake right in front of my eyes do that to several prey. I would give him a rat, and he would pin it up the side of the wall. Then he'd be looking for the next rat. He'd like, give me another one. He would pin it with the rest of his body. It was so entertaining. But his name was Buster. R.I.P. Buster. He was such a cool snake way back in the days. I have been working with reptiles for a long time. If you didn't already know and hadn't noticed by how I talk about them, snakes are my favorite animals. So I miss Buster all the time. He's so cool. But you're pretty cool too. But some snakes just kind of work with what they're given as far as their habitat and their bodies. And it's worked for them for a long time, so why change it, right? But this is a really cool Woma python. If you missed it already, his name is Logan. And Logan is just a little baby. He's just a couple years old, if that. I need to look back at his birthday records and see. Guys, I've been talking so long. It is time for a drink break. First one of the night, not too bad, and I'm drooling all over the place. So if you're just joining us, my name is Amanda. We're doing our once a month live stream. I will do my best to try to go live more often, maybe on TikTok and Instagram, because I think you guys really enjoy it. But we typically do at least go live once a month now. We used to go live once a week. And before that, it was 3 times a week, but that's just not a thing anymore. We're too busy. But that was also when we were first new, trying to promote everything. And also the pandemic happened. So we were able to go live a lot more often. Now we're doing it once a month, usually the first Wednesday of the month. If not, we actually do run reruns of our past live streams. So there's always something to enjoy on most of our social media. We don't typically run reruns on Instagram or TikTok. We run them on YouTube and Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitch and Twitter, I think, too, actually. So reruns are on other social media, but I'll do my best to include you guys in a little bit more stuff coming up very soon. Well, Logan, you did a great job. Can you see why I love him? He's a beautiful snake. I tend to really like the kind of unique patterns of snakes too. This is the wild pattern. It is very, very good camouflage in the scrublands and deserts of Australia, where they're from. I did forget to mention that Woma pythons in the wild are becoming an endangered species in some locations. So they do need a lot of help and awareness for their species and conservation. Most of it is due to habitat loss, but also things like invasive species taking over and eating them or eating their food. So invasive species could be things like pet cats or maybe another Australian species that doesn't belong there, but that's actually living there, and a pretty famous one as well. So Logan, let's go ahead and transition from this Australian animal to another natively Central and South American animal that actually does also live and thrive in other places where it doesn't belong. And one of those is Australia. So this next animal I'm very excited about. I think I'm going to put my hair up to talk about this animal. Because I think it's going to be quite the handful. If you thought that snakes were a problem, you are wrong. Snakes are easy. I know you guys are out there animal lovers, but some people don't like snakes. Can you believe that? I think they're the most beautiful animals on the planet. So much variety, so many colors, just sweet and quiet. Even if snakes are quote unquote mean or a problem, they're still quiet, right? They're not really going to audibly complain about much unless they're hissing. They're not going to disturb many unless you're just afraid of snakes, I guess. Oh, you guys, my button just came off. It's not really a button, it's a pin. So we're just going to keep going. This is real life. I hope you guys are enjoying the show so far. My name is Amanda. If you're just joining us, this is our Once in a Wild Wednesday, like I mentioned before. And Once in a Wild is a mobile zoo right here in San Antonio. And we are able to service the San Antonio Metro. If you would like an animal encounter in person, if you would like a virtual animal encounter, we can, of course, go virtual for anybody that has internet access and access to Zoom or any other platform you prefer for virtual encounter. I'm going to go ahead and make sure I'm in focus way back here. It's my hand because our next animal I don't think is going to be a problem to see, and it's not small. We met a vinegaroon, which is a rather small creature, a arachnid in the scorpion and spider family. That was a cool first one and a new animal for us. We met a monitor lizard and 2 snakes so far, and now it's time to meet an amphibian. Oh, we have a question here. The ducklings were, oh yes, I answered this question. The ducklings are Takis and Chamoy. What is the biggest animal that snake can eat? I will answer for both species we just showed. For the Chinese beauty snake, they can eat things like small birds, rodents like mice and voles and other Chinese rodents and things. They can eat moles. They can eat lizards. Not super big things. Pardon me. A Woma python gets big enough to eat things like larger rodents, like rats. They can eat larger birds, things like that. Mostly they're going to be rodent eaters. As babies, they're going to be able to eat things like geckos and lizards and frogs and things like that. Speaking of frogs, let's go ahead and meet an amphibian next. Guys, I'm super excited about this one. This is so cool. Let's see how she does. If you guys don't know what this is, I'm going to tell you. This is one of the largest frog species on the planet, or should I say toad, but toads are technically frogs. So toads and frogs are close cousins, and in the same family. They're amphibians, right? But toads and frogs are super closely related. So they're really the same thing. Toads are just special frogs. This is actually a cane toad. I have never had a cane toad before. I've worked with them before, but I'm super excited to have this one. We have named her Tina, Tina the Toad, and Tina the Toad is one of our newest animal ambassadors. Now, Tina the Toad, Their native lands are Central and South America and even into Texas. So North America too. So really North and South America. We're going to say that because Mexico and Central is North America, isn't it? So the Americas into South America. And there's a couple of different subspecies. This is the Marina variety. Which means the biggest one. I'm so excited. This is not as big as they get. And females are bigger than males, as are most of the frog and toad species. Females are far bigger than males. We think she's a girl. She looks like a girl to me. There are features on their body that you can look at. And that's an impressive animal, isn't it? She hopefully will get at least twice as big as this. Oh, so cool. Now, their primary diet in their native habitat is going to be really anything, but mostly insects. But if you think about it, in Central, North, and South America, there's a lot of insects to eat. And as long as they're in a warm climate, there's insects to eat all the time. But these guys actually can grow on just a diet of insects alone and all the protein, I guess, all the protein they need. And they really don't eat as often as you would think. It's really just like maybe once a week, opportunistic. But they can actually go a long time without eating. It's something I learned very recently. Most amphibians like to eat a lot more often than a cane toad. But cane toads, I guess, have a lot of reserves, don't they? This is approximately a 1 or 2 year old animal. Look at those gorgeous legs. Oh my gosh. I love her. She's so cute. They do have a kind of a white or cream colored ventral, which is their belly, and a pretty dark, natural looking, kind of like rock looking dorsal, which is the back and top of the animal. As you can see, she's trying to kind of jump away from me. That is pretty normal for most frog and toads to try to want to get away from you. We're just going to see how much longer she tolerates because she is a new animal. They're super strong. They have really strong legs to kick and jump. But you may know a little bit about this animal. I'm going to tell you all about them to the best of my ability. I'm really excited, so I'm a little all over the place. Cane toads. Cane toads are native to the Americas, but they're actually invasive species to other countries where they don't belong. Places like Australia, the continent/country of Australia, super duper problematic in Australia. They're one of the more famous and problem children as far as a invasive species goes in all of the world. Now, the most problematic invasive species, humans, but also second one might be feral cats. So it's really not fair to just hate on certain invasive species like cane toads. It's not their fault, number one. It's 100% a human problem. And same thing with the cats. But cats in general are one of the most beloved animals on the planet, right? House cats. But feral cats and outdoor cats are a big problem worldwide. So let's not hate too much on the cane toad. They're wonderful animals, and that's not their fault. They're just doing their best to live and adapt to everything that they're put through. So what had happened in the 1930s is sugarcane fields in Australia were becoming overrun with cane beetles. So a particular type of beetle larva was eating up all the cane crops. And that was a huge, of course, like, you know, moneymaker for the farmers in Australia. So that was a big problem, and rightfully so. They were very worried about it. Well, in other places, I believe, I'm still learning about these guys, but I believe it was in Hawaii. And no, it was natively, it was actually maybe Hawaii secondarily, but natively, firstly, was going to be in their normal native land. So places like South America and Central America, they had the same kind of like issues with insects eating all the crops. And they said, oh, you know what's really good for that? Cane toads, or these guys, whatever they call them in Espanol, or whatever, right? Cane toad is one name of this species, but the marine toad, the giant marine toad, that's another English name for them. But anyway, so they, people that were, I guess they were doing some research and asking all around, and eventually the word got out that, you know, what's really good for bugs in your crops is going to be toads. And I mean, that makes logical sense to me. So what they did was they took some that were actually in Hawaii, where they had either had success with this whole thing, the whole idea, or they had some that were invasive to Hawaii. I really don't know what happened there, but they, nonetheless, in Hawaii, it hadn't been that big of a problem, which shocks me. But what happens is they brought them over to Australia, and they just brought like, I think it was like 300 of them, maybe even less, like 100 to 300. And they ended up thriving in Australia. And these guys are poisonous. They're poisonous frogs. So what happened was, in the other places that it had been not a problem to have cane toads, like their native lands, maybe even Hawaii, I need to do more research, like I said, but especially in their native lands of Central and South America and North America, It wasn't a problem. It wasn't a big deal. They're poisonous, yes, but there are animals in their native lands, in their native habitat, that have become adapted to eating some of these guys as babies. But guess what? In Australia, there was no animal that could eat them. And these guys are some of the most prolific and best breeding amphibians in the world. Right, Tina? She's like, yep, she's riveting. She's not very loud, which is why we are pretty certain she's a girl. Boys are much louder. She hasn't made any noise. And she's a big girl. But these guys are very prolific. They're like bunny rabbits of the amphibian world. These guys have a lot of babies, just like most amphibians. Most amphibians have like hundreds of babies at once. For example, the axolotl, they can have like 200 eggs at once. You guys know the axolotl from Mexico, a really cute amphibian. You've learned a lot about those guys, I hope, on our channel. We love them, and that's one of our mascots. But this guy here, this lady, she could potentially lay 30,000 eggs in one time. They have so many babies, you guys. The eggs are poisonous. Most animals cannot eat them, although native animals in Central and South America and North America can eat them sometimes. So they do have natural predators that over time in evolution have evolved to be able to eat this poison. Australia, nobody can eat them. So those eggs would thrive and hatch and become tadpoles in about 2 to 5 days on average is how long these guys take to hatch out as tadpoles and taking over. Tadpoles are also toxic. The only time when they're less toxic with this species is actually the in-between stage in between tadpole and froglet. Froglet is like a miniature cane toad, right? Or toadlet, I guess. Toadlet, froglet, whatever. But the in-between time, in between tadpole and hopping around froglet / toadlet, that's when they're less toxic, but still not untoxic. They're still toxic. So that is a really good defense mechanism, especially if you're in a non-native land where animals have not adapted to eating you at all. Also, these guys have a pretty big mouth when they're big enough, and they do eat a lot of things like native insects and native frogs that live in Australia and native birds and native mammals, really anything they want. Another thing that happened as well is because they didn't have any competition with other cane toads, there was literally zero, right? Zero cane toads. They took maybe like up to 300. We'll just say it's up to 300. I can't remember how many it is, but anywhere from 100 to 300. Not very many, just like a handful. They were just trying to see what would happen. Oh my gosh. It took no time for them to just take over. That's all they had. And these guys can literally live in any climate pretty much, as long as there's some water, but they're super tough. You can't really kill a cane toad. They're really tough. They're one of the few toad and frog species that you can just hold and hang out with. I don't recommend it because they are poisonous, but I'm not going to lick her. I'm certainly not going to eat her. And I am definitely going to wash my hands right after this. Also, they only really secrete poison, by the way, through their big old glands. Kind of looks like a big pimple right here. Big old gland. They have a poison gland that they can actually secrete white poison out of when they feel really upset. Trying to keep her as comfortable as possible so she doesn't do that. They can't even squirt you in the face with it, but it's rare. Nobody that we know of, I need to do some more research, at least in Australia, we'll say that. Nobody in Australia has ever died from a cane toad. So they're not as toxic as people think. Like, you can pick them up and, like, you know, as long as you don't eat them. But people in Central and South America eat these guys. Can you believe that? You have to prepare them just right. You have to get rid of the venom. You have to do, like, don't listen. You have to skin them and things like that. I don't want her to hear this terrible, terrible thing. But it's a good thing for amphibians to be eaten, right? Because there's too many of them if they're not eaten. These guys have so many babies, up to 30,000 eggs. And if you're not eaten by anything, they're just going to keep on taking over. And like I said, they can survive in almost any climate in Australia, as long as there's a little bit of water. She's leaving us, you guys. As long as there's a little bit of water and some food. And what's so ironic too is they didn't even want to eat the cane beetles that they were put there for in the first place. The cane beetles would just climb up the cane stalks, the crops. They would just climb, and these guys don't climb. They hop around and they're really tough and strong. They don't really climb at all. They just stay on the ground. So the beetles were like, not today. We're gonna climb up they kept eating all the sugar cane. So it really didn't help the problem at all, and it's still a problem to this day. This happened in the 1930s, and what I was trying to say earlier is they didn't have any competition with other cane toads, so they ended up just becoming stronger cane toads. So if you're a native species somewhere And by the way, these are one of the oldest type of toads in the history of toads. They're millions of years old as far as evolution says. So for example, the axolotl, that's a super new species of amphibian, new in evolution. These guys are really old. They've been doing it right for a long time, so why change it? But over time, you have competition with other cane toads or any other species, humans, whatever we are. We're not going to overtake a new place because there's competition. So you're not going to necessarily develop like stronger back legs, hopping abilities, more opportunities to eat things, more habits of eating other animals. So the cane toads in Australia are much stronger and tougher than the ones in their native land. I hope that makes sense because there was no competition. They just kept getting stronger and stronger. So over how many years is that? It was in the 1930s, around 80 years ago. They have gotten like twice even bigger, tougher. And that's just the way it is. So they're a very big problem. There's been a few new solutions to control cane toad populations. None of them have become 100% successful, right? Because they still have a problem with it. Unbeknownst to me, and I just found this out today because I was doing some research, there's been no native species in Australia to become extinct from cane toads. Whereas, like I mentioned before, feral cats, they have caused lots of extinction of animals worldwide. So they're not as bad as you would think. They're still terrible, but they're coming up with solutions now, different experimental solutions. It's really fun if you want to look them up on how to control cane toad population. One of those popular ways is just trapping them and humanely euthanizing them. But they used to, I don't know if they're still doing this, they used to pay people for collection of cane toads to get them out of the environment because Australia really cares in general about their native wildlife. Isn't this a cool animal, you guys? I know some of you may have drifted off and gone to do other things. That is okay. Tina the toad is here to stay, and she will be back. I hope you guys have enjoyed all of our animals tonight. We have met and introduced you guys to 5 species tonight on TikTok and the rest of social media. Sorry again about the Instagram problem. We just needed to update, and I didn't know that. Then I tried to go live, and it was trying to tell me to update then, which I didn't have time to do on the spot, right? Tina is an amazing animal ambassador. Now, typically, they just want to eat bugs. That is the main thing that they do want to eat, although opportunistically, especially in being a invasive species, they will take opportunity to eat other animals, which is a huge problem. But the main problem with these guys is they're super hardy. Not many animals kill them or eat them. In fact, almost no animal eat them because they are so poisonous to eat. And to smaller animals, even eating a small baby frog or tadpole or egg can kill them very fast, or even at least poison them to where they're very sick. Now, I did hear one thing recently that some animals are actually just becoming ill from eating them and not dying, and they're learning to leave them alone, which again doesn't solve the population issue with the cane toad, but at least animals are learning not to eat them, which is really encouraging to hear. She has beautiful eyes. I think these guys are just like the cool. It doesn't even look like a real thing. They look like something out of a storybook, right? I will not kiss her, but you look like the frog that we have to kiss to find the prince. I already found my prince, so thank you very much, Princess. Princess would have been a good name for her, but we already have a princess. She's one of our snakes. But Tina is our toad here, and she's a cane toad, otherwise known as the marine toad. And this is the marine variety. Now, she comes from populations in her native lands in South America. So this would not be like the Australian variety, if you even want to call it that, the ones that have adapted to Australia. This is actually the Central and South American variety. So she's very natural. They are cool. I hope you like her and all the animals that we met today. She's very strong, so that's good. I guess she's doing well. We will feed her a bunch of bugs soon. See how you like all those bugs. They're primarily insectivores. Now, as an amphibian, they do have slightly slimy skin, but toads really are much, much more dry than a frog. They're frog cousins. Frogs are a lot more slimy. Frogs are more aquatic, but these guys aren't called the marine toad for nothing. They do a lot of swimming. You can see these gorgeous back legs are pretty well designed for swimming. They have slightly webbed feet. See the slightly webbed feet? Almost like a bullfrog has. So they can swim some, but they don't have to swim. But I think they're called the marine toad because they're a little more aquatic and also more of a tropical or subtropical animal. But a toad also typically has more of a rounded face, which she certainly does. But really, it's the dry skin. That's a really, really good indication of a toad. Not all frogs are smooth-skinned. Some frogs actually have bumpy skin as well, like the African bullfrog is one of those weird ones. But toads usually do have little bumps. They call them warts. They don't give you warts Although picking up frogs is not a good idea. I know I'm holding Tina, but Tina is a special case. I'm also a professional, so I know what to do. But I do not recommend you guys going out and catching cane toads or any other toads or frogs out in your natural world. Especially you kids out there, please do not pick up amphibians. That can make you sick, and you can make them sick as well. Cane toads are super tough. I've also not touched anything that's going to harm her today, like perfume or anything like that. I made sure and wash my hands ahead of time. And these guys really don't absorb as much as other amphibians do, so it's pretty safe to hold them as long as you're careful. That being said, if you find a toad or a frog in your backyard or camping, please do not pick them up unless you're having to rescue them out of your pool or something like that, some extreme reason out of the road or something. Be sure to rinse them off if you can with bottled water or some clean water if that happens and you touch them, because that can harm them just by us touching them with our oily fingers and things that we put on our skin all the time, like soaps and things. But we don't want to do that. Also, frogs and toads may pee on you as a self-defense mechanism. That's a really good defense mechanism. It usually causes animals to become surprised and then let go of the frog or toad, but that can actually empty them of the urine or liquids, right? And that can give them no weapon for the next time they get grabbed by a true predator. So if you love frogs and toads like me, please observe them from a safe distance. You can say, thank you, frogs and toads, for eating all the bugs for us. She's a strong one. And love them from afar and take a photo and tell everybody that you saw one. If you need to rescue one, like any other animal, they need help, you can do that. That's okay. Just make sure and wash your hands and you rinse them off afterwards. Okay? Be very careful out there with your native wildlife. This has been a lot of fun. I hope you have enjoyed. You haven't drifted away yet? Did you like the cane toad? One of our newest animal ambassadors. If I let her go, she's going to jump right out of my hands. I just know she will. They have very strong legs. Very strong. It is okay. Okay, we'll put her down, and I will very soon wash my hands. I'm going to hand sanitize in the meantime. And then I'll for sure rinse my hands so I don't have cane toad-ness on me. Now, again, they're not as deadly as we once thought. Certainly won't eat her, obviously, but as long as I'm careful, they can be pets. I don't think they're bad pets. I think they're actually pretty decent pets for fairly experienced keepers. I think they make pretty decent pets. They are big. They're not super hard to care for, though. They're very sturdy animals, things like that. But I do not recommend you just picking up every cane toad you see, right? Okay, you guys, it's been a lot of fun. We're going to get back over here. We're going to make sure we have some music as well. And ready to go when we say goodbye. I hope you guys have enjoyed the show. As you can see, it is real life. Not everything went as expected, but a lot of it did, and it was a lot of fun. I hope to see you guys next month when we go live again, and stay tuned for more social media posts, certainly more public events, maybe more live streams. You never know. Maybe some random pop-up live stream events, maybe on Instagram next time, because we missed Instagram this time. Cry me a river, and I'll cry myself to sleep later. But these guys had a lot of fun seeing you guys today, and I hope you learned something as always. And I hope to see you guys another time, whenever it may be. If you like what you see, you can always donate to our little zoo. Once in a Wild is a mobile zoo with over 100 animals and about 60 species and growing all the time. Like you see with the cane toad and the vinegaroon today, our new animal ambassadors. So if you would like to help us out, the best way is person. You can find out more about that at our website, onceinawild.com. You can request an email or call back, or you can call us directly or even text us or message us on the website or social media to find out more. And that is the best way to help us out because you get something in return. We do also have merch, but we also have donation abilities as well with Venmo and Cash App, which are Once in a Wild at Once in a Wild and $ Once in a Wild. And you can always donate to our Amazon wish list as well. We have one of those on our website, onceinawild.com. All of that stuff is on the website and in the bio descriptions somewhere on social media. Wherever you like, we're usually there. And please follow, share, like, comment, ring the notification bells if there are some. And we really appreciate you guys, and we'll see you guys next time. Let's see here. You know what? I didn't do my intro today, but I will do my exit song. So we'll see you guys next time. We are nothing close to ordinary, but we love to be your friend. Once in a while, Alrighty, we hope to see you guys next time. Have a wonderful day. Bye.